Alright, let's talk about some limited stuff because quite frankly, being a PS Vita collector these days, that's pretty much all you can think of. It's pretty much burned in our minds at this point. Greetings fellow Vita fans, this is James with PS Vita at 2 AM, coming at you once again with another exciting video. And if you're new here and love everything PlayStation Vita, don't forget to subscribe. And make sure to leave me your thoughts and opinions on this topic down in the comments section. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about the PS Vita cart situation and the limited quantities that surround it. Yeah, I guess that sounds pretty exciting. I'll admit, the main motivation I had for making this video in the first place was seeing all of the backlash that limited run games had received upon the release of Super Meat Boy. The aftermath anyway. Oh boy, were those ever fun to read on Reddit. So as we know, a week or two back, limited run games finally released their final PS Vita game, which in my opinion, I think is going to be the final NTSC North American ESRB rated PS Vita game to ever be released. I know there's still some speculation about other companies, but personally, I think that's the way it's going to go down. Nicholas, you and your poor track record. And one of the most common things I heard people saying in the forums was, really? Super Meat Boy? That's going to be their final PS Vita game? You think they could go off with a little bit more of a bang than that? And in my personal opinion, I think Super Meat Boy was a pretty fair last release, but that's just my opinion. Tough as nails, and it made me really angry, but I think it was a pretty good release. But the number one thing that I was hearing people say was that, really? Only 2,000 copies? 1,000 for the standard and 1,000 for the limited edition? That's all we're getting? A grand total of 2,000 copies for the final PS Vita game, especially how sought after a lot of its physical games are? To which, of course, I won't be naming any names. And to that, I have to tell you guys, it's not exactly limited run games' fault here. And I'm by no means white knighting for anyone here, I just want to explain the facts. But for any more possible hate mail I might be receiving, you can send it to James, P.O. Box, and never mind. Now, for those who don't know, Limited Run Games has been around since the year 2015, and their very first release was, in fact, a PS Vita game called Breach and Clear. The company is known for doing limited run products for games onward. And ever since then, going forward, they've been releasing a crap ton of video games, along which, of course, are beloved PS Vita physical releases. In fact, let's just focus on those because that's all that really matters. I ain't biased at all. And from that time onward, things were going pretty swimmingly. They were releasing new PS Vita games, multiple new PS Vita games I may add, like practically every month. And it was even during this time where East Asia Soft started getting off on board and releasing their own Asian English release PS Vita physical game, along with multiple others, but those were the two biggest ones. So things were looking pretty good. But as the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end, because May of 2018 is when we first heard that Sony was planning to discontinue PS Vita cartridges across all Western territories, that being North America, Europe, Australia, and so forth. My wrist was looking mighty tempting back then, needless to say, and it was around this time that we learned that Sony requested that all Vita product code requests be submitted by June 28th, 2018, and the final purchase orders be entered by February 15 of 2019, with Sony's 2018 fiscal year ending on March 31st of 2019. So you could see all the cogs at work here. They were extremely evil cogs, but they were cogs nonetheless. Oh boy, I hope YouTube closed captioning doesn't put that as something else. Now, while this was a big deal to any dev or publisher that wanted to get their game published physically on the PS Vita, the ones it hurt the most were in fact the limited run game companies, i.e. Limited Run Games, obviously, Strictly Limited, Red Art Games, and so forth. Any of the limited quantity release companies out there. And this totally caught the likes of Limited Run Games by surprise, because they had a whole well of PS Vita games that they wanted to get on cartridge that now it looked like they weren't going to be able to. Yes, even before the whole PlayStation Store deadline, there was already deadlines years before. Yo dog, I heard you like deadlines, so I decided to put a deadline within your deadline so you can deadline while you deadline. So at that point, Limited Run Games had to scramble and try to get in as many PS Vita orders for as many games as they possibly could. But of course, there being a deadline meant that many PS Vita games just weren't ready in time and more than likely had to be cancelled. Some were moved to other publishers, but more than likely they were cancelled. It's one of the main reasons we were never able to get that Strictly Limited release of Ultra Core. And East Asia Soft, if you're listening, please let that be one of the final physical releases you have in store for us. I don't need my wrist looking any more tempting than it already is. Yup, it was a pretty tough pill to swallow back then, but we just had to make do with what we had. Still though, and as the months went on, Limited Run Games just realized that they were only gonna have a certain amount of cartridges to release all of these games that they had planned for the rest of the coming years. That's why Super Meat Boy only had a limited print run of 2,000 copies. It was pretty much all they had left to work with. In fact, shortly before the game went up, Limited Run Games even gave this warning. Heads up, we expect Super Meat Boy on Vita to sell out very quickly, and we apologize if anyone has issues getting the game. Yeah, I'd say that's probably like 99% of the people that tried. Production for physical Vita games ended 2 years ago, as far as the West is considered, and we only had a limited number of Vita cartridges to produce all of our final releases. This required us to go well below what we had planned for many titles in order to ensure we could release the games we'd signed. We didn't intend for our final Vita release to be so scarce, so we sincerely apologize. Thank you to all the Vita fans who have been with us over the years. Get you a little emotional, I know. And even Josh Fairhurst, the owner of Limited Run Games, said that on the one hand, I am sad that we're done with PlayStation Vita releases, but on the other, I'm extremely relieved to be through with them. The limited cartridges we had to manufacture our final games forced us to make these last releases far too scarce. 99% of what we put out these days is open pre-order. These final PS Vita physical releases were an exception and not the rule. We were powerless to print the number we wanted. Super Meat Boy on Vita, for instance, was supposed to be limited to 5,000 copies, but that had to be slashed when we learned how few cartridges we had left. Now, even after all of this shenaniganry, we PS Vita collectors did have one silver lining. The PS Vita is region free, and East Asia Soft, which is based over in Asia, obviously, still had cartridges being manufactured because they were in Asia and not the Western territory. But as you know, earlier this year, or maybe the beginning of last, we learned that Sony has finally discontinued cartridges worldwide, even now in Asia. So East Asia Soft was kind of in the same predicament that Limited Run Games was, in that they've tried to get as many games as they possibly could with the remaining cartridges that were left manufactured. See, I told you, there's just basically deadlines within deadlines at this point. Which of course brings us to the present date. Now we're all eagerly awaiting to see what games East Asia Soft has been able to put orders for ahead of time before the cartridge deadline for Asia. So anyway, that will conclude the video. I just wanted to explain the situation for any PS Vita collectors out there, and you in particular, that maybe aren't aware of the whole situation that's been going on with PS Vita cartridges as of late. As it stands now, they are no longer being manufactured, and basically what we're gonna get is what we're gonna get. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Are you a PS Vita physical collector? Do you just prefer your games on cartridges? Or are you only digital and you just watch this because I don't know? Let me know your opinions down in the comments section. And as always, fellow Vita fans, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. Love you all, and I'll see you next time. This video has been brought to you in part by all of these wonderfully generous people who help make this content possible, including Ricardo Martinez, Eric DeWitt, Nintendo Switch at 2 AM, Colossus, Tasha Monty, Donut Valley, Crazy Cat, Mozgus, Romp King, Jamie, Matt Hargett, Dr. Super Artie, Juan M. Hermosillo, Azumara, Burzin Mystery, 1488 Dental, Michael O'Connor, Kayonko, Sakib Alam, Robert Sylvester, Hector Gonzalez, Smug Wolf, Robert Johnson, Makis Blob, Zake Blue One, Zekrito, B Mystery, Frayden, Matt Fox, Alan Iwazuk, Bushin Ryu Cat, Milk Sama, Niwarashi, Shin Snake, Joseph Razmik, Reiko Star, Larry Anderson, Rodrigo Vera, Skulshire Tugel TCG, David Ray, Wendy K, Adam Thury, Aaron Swanson, H-Hitter, Per Sterner, Heston Joseph, Jelly, Laurie Sweeney, Kevin Enright, E-Rock, Richard Cruz, Jared Haddo, JR, PS Vita S, Joshua Williams, Kyle Brooks, Adam Sondi, Claimer Malarkey, Saul Ramirez, Himdall Imbert, Hero Acer, BMF, Phantom XRS, and Gutter Drums. If you would be interested in supporting the channel and seeing your name on this end screen here, or if you wish to remain anonymous, that can be provided too, then make sure to check the links down in the description below. I have numerous ways for you to do this down there. Can't support in this manner? Don't worry about it. Likes and shares can help equally as much. And, if I ever hear the word deadline again, it'll be much too soon.